At the NFL Scouting Combine, Mark Vandermeer and John Harris with you, joined by Texans General Manager Nick Caserio. Nick, welcome. And how is this Combine different for you? Because we didn't have one last year, and this is your first as a General Manager.
Yeah, I'd say the process is pretty similar. It's really an opportunity to kind of gather information, meet with the players kind of on a one-on-one basis, kind of on a personal level. I'd say the biggest thing are the underclassmen discussions, because it's really this first opportunity you have to kind of talk face-to-face with them. So, old habits die hard, so as soon as you show up here, you kind of are back in the swing of things. So it's been good.
Nick, we've kind of bandied this question about to many people. If the Combine moves from Indianapolis, what's lost? I mean, do you like having it in Indianapolis? Or, I mean, if it does move, what's lost by doing so?
Yeah, I think the consistency that we're all accustomed to in the city of Indianapolis. I mean, Indianapolis is a great host. You have a lot of research, and the way it's set up between the convention center, between the dome, the access to the medical facilities and the hotel locations. Yep. I mean, everything is sort of centrally located, and logistically, it's very easy to kind of move around. I think Jeff Foster has done a phenomenal job here through the years. I have a lot of respect for what he's done and kind of developing and evolving. In the end, whatever the decision is made, then we'll adjust accordingly. I think all of us have kind of learned to adjust. But I would say personally, would love to see it continue in Indianapolis, because I think there's a lot of benefit to being here.
Nick, what about the interviews? What can you tell us about what takes place in an interview, what you get out of it when you're evaluating?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Eventually, you try to steer it to as much football as possible. So a lot of the background that you've accumulated, you've received from the school about their personal situation, maybe their background, maybe their family situation, some of the things from a football perspective, how they're coached, how they work, how they practice, some of their habits. So you have that information kind of, backlogged here in inventory. So unless there's something specific, maybe it has an issue pop up, or maybe it has an injury history, or they had a discipline issue, you might want to ask them about that and see kind of how they respond to that. And then eventually you want to steer it towards football. And what you're trying to do is get under, what do these players know? What are they being coached to do? And realizing everybody's baseline is a little bit different. So when you're just watching a player, and John can probably attest to this, you don't really know what they're being asked to do. You see what they're doing on the field and how they're playing, but what are they being coached to do? What are they being asked to do? How are they being coached to do? Maybe they're not worried about an adjustment on this route, or they're not worried about understanding what's going on the other side of the ball. That's okay. So you just have to have an understanding of where the player is, and just in terms of their overall growth and development.
Nick, as it pertains to interviews, you get 45 here, and then you get, as we call them, on-campus visits. Will you double up interviews, or will you feel like we interviewed them here, we've got to spread the wealth, or is that just kind of a case-by-case basis as you look at that?
It's probably case-by-case, but you're not going to make a decision based probably off of just a 20-minute interaction, unless the player is absolutely clean. So he's blue chip, he's clean, he has all the traits that you want. You're not going to find out anything new in your building that you found out here or that you found out from the school. So we walk out, okay, this is everything that we want in our program. Okay, we bring him in the building. Okay, we're not going to find out anything different.
Right.
There might be some things we want to do, try to simulate, like what's it like in our building on a day-to-day basis, who they're going to be coached by, what's the, maybe you go through an installation or something like that. So there's certainly things you can still simulate. But again, it's case by case and trying to figure out, like, what do we need? There's probably going to be different buckets that you put these players into, whether it's mental, whether it's injury, whether it's, whatever else there might be. So just have to figure out what bucket that player's in and whether or not you need more information before you make your decision.
What about watching them interact with each other on the field while they're in their groups, getting ready to do their drills and everything? It's not a true team environment, but it's sort of a team for a few days, if you will.
It is. They're around each other for 4 or 5 days, and there's relationships that are probably developed. Have some teammates that have played together, so maybe this environment is a little bit different. They're kind of away from their campus, away from their school, or they've seen another player from afar. I mean, a guy from Georgia, with a player from Ohio State. Maybe there's a mutual respect and understanding. So I think they're all trying to learn from each other. Maybe there's something they can pick up from watching somebody else. So I would say those interact. You can really gain a lot from just watching and observing, and just to seeing, what the interactions look like. Maybe one is a little bit more assertive and a little bit more, I would say, open to a leadership role, takes a little bit more ownership. One's maybe a little bit more reserved, kind of worried about himself. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just different personalities start to take shape, and ultimately they're going to be they could be teammates here on their next team.
Nick, we take all the workout stuff with a grain of salt. That's something we've been talking about. Look, he ran a 40. It's great, fantastic. any drill that you look at and go, this one's important? I don't know. Important's maybe not the right word, but is there anyone that you look at a little bit closer than any of the others?
That's a really good question. I think certain drills are more applicable than others, and I think even the combine has kind of changed some of the drills specific to different groups. The one drill, which you can see kind of on both sides of the ball, so it's the skilled players offensively and the skilled players defensively, is the gauntlet drill. Because they're running full speed.
Yes.
Their ability to catch the ball, adjust to the ball, can they keep stride, their hand-eye coordination, that's a really good drill. So the catch and tuck component, catch it, put it away, turning it up the field. Do they have to slow down? Because you can kind of gauge their comfort level. You can improve catching the football. What's harder to, I would say, correct or improve for a defensive back is maybe his ability to turn and find the ball down the field. But the gauntlet drill is a really good drill because it simulates catching and running through traffic at a high speed, which is going to happen on a field on Sunday.
And those passes have to be thrown very crisply and on time, right?
They do. I actually threw some of those passes back in the day, so it's been a long time. But
all right, so the 40. I'm obsessed with this, with the corners and the receivers, the speed guys. I always thought it should be its own event in prime time and have the lights and everything. That'd be fun for the fans. But, Nick, tell me the difference between how you value a 40 time and football speed and the importance of such.
No, you have to look at those things, and there's a lot of data and a lot of measurements that you can take. So you think a guy is fast. So you're watching a guy, think he's fast. Okay, then he runs fast. Okay, the player's fast. You're watching another player. I'm not sure how fast he is. Okay, he runs fast. Okay, so where's the delta? What's the difference? So this is not a knock on the players, but they spend a lot of time training for these drills, training for this 40. You can improve your 40 speed and your 40 time. So ultimately, whatever his time is, does a player play to that speed or does he not play to that speed? Because football speed is football speed. And the number of times on a football field where a guy is actually going to have to run 40 yards, it's a pretty small percentage. So one of my point of contentions on the offensive lineman has always been why they run a 40, I have no idea, because it's a true measurement for them is 10 to 20, somewhere in that range, because they're moving in a shorter area. So how much force, speed, can they exert in a short area with a number of force? Because they're going to have to push and pull and try to move somebody. So it's not about how fast they're running. It's about how quickly they can displace the guy across from them. So speed is speed. Is a fast guy fast? Or does a guy you're not sure how fast he is, does he run fast? Okay, then we have to kind of be able to fill the gap here a little bit. It happens all the time. Guy runs 4.3. There's no way in hell you thought he was going to run 4.3. You watch him play, and he's 4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean? So, because again, to just go from a stance and run straight ahead 40 yards, the amount of times that actually happens is minimal.
Yeah. As you guys are sitting there watching 40s, and I say you guys, I mean scouts and the people that have watched these players all year, guys at the line, are you guys going, he's 4.6? No, he's 4.5. Are you guys sort of taking side bets to see who's going to run, what he's going to run?
And I think the ones that are really good don't even need a clock. They'll watch a guy run and go, all right, the guy looks like he ran a 4.52 or something like that, and it comes out, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, there we go.
Nick, one of the signings you made just a couple of days ago is somebody that we talk about on the air, but we don't talk about in a sense that he's really made a play because it's really never been a negative play, and that's John Weeks. How important is it to bring Weeksy back?
Yeah, John's been a stalwart for this program for a number of years. You guys have been around him more than I have, but very professional, very well respected on the team. Been in one place for a long period of time. I think he certainly made some improvements from 2020 to 2021, just in terms of some of the things that we asked him to do from a coverage standpoint. Made a number of tackles on punt coverage. And you can't be good in the kicking game unless you have good specialists. Yep. So I would say the relationship between John, Cam, and Kai, that's an important relationship. They're all pros. They all work well together. They're all coachable, and they're looking for ways to improve, and John certainly falls into that category. So excited to have John back and look forward to him to continue to grow and improve on the things that he did last season.
It's an interesting job because you can have a great door, but if you don't have a good hinge, it doesn't mean anything, right? He's the hinge. He's that maybe a smaller link in the whole thing, but if he doesn't do his job well, disastrous things could happen.
Absolutely. So whether you're covering a punt, or the timing on the punt, that's important. Extra point, field goal, those mechanics that are involved in that, I would say, flow and working relationship between that group is pretty important. So
we see guys in training camp try to long snap, right? And how off are they from Weeks' time to get the ball to the punter? Or the punter is the most important thing, really.
Yeah, the placement is really the biggest thing.
Okay.
There's guys that can put it back there with pace, but it's the actual placement, for whether it's the holder on the field goals and extra points or whether it's the punter, because there's a timing element involved from the putter in terms of the catch, in terms of the placement, in terms of his depth. Does he come off the spot? So I'm going to say it's really important, and when it becomes more magnified is when it doesn't go well, and that can lead to disaster.
Yeah, Weeksy's pretty accurate, I know, because he's buzzed the tower on me when I've gotten too close on the sidelines when he's practicing snaps. The very first game I ever did, he got that close to me. It was just to send a message, so the accuracy part is no doubt. Nick, how far or how long does it take you walking down the hall here at the Combine before somebody's grabbing your shoulder and saying, hey, have I told you about my particular client? Agents grabbing you, people grabbing you. Hey, let me tell you about this guy. How often is that happening to you while you're here in Indy?
Not as often as you might think. I think what I try to do is you have certain relationships with agents that you've kind of cultivated through the years, and, you certainly want to have a dialogue with them. I would say personally I'm not a big, have 50 meetings with agents and kind of go through their list. We know who their list is. I know who their list is. I have a document that's organized by agency group.
Yep.
So, and you're not going to be interested in every player, but there's certain groups or certain, maybe that person has a high volume of players. Maybe you want to go through to kind of get a sense of, all right, what are you hearing? What do you think? What are you looking for? Okay, got it. You know what? Maybe we were interested in that player, thought we would be, but you know what? He might be out of our range, or we're not going to be at that level. Okay, eliminate him and go to the next guy. So I think that's the benefit maybe of some of those interactions and discussions.
Yeah, because the social aspect is big here as well, right? Everybody getting together. Now, another related question. How far can you get down the hallway without bumping into somebody from the past? Because it's less than 1 degree of separation between everybody in this league, especially when you're in this town at this time of year.
Yeah, they're not all here just yet. And sometimes my route is a little bit more circuitous, and I kind of stay off to the side.
You know your way.
I try to stay out of harm's way. But it's always good to kind of see people that you're familiar with and sort of reconnect. So it's going to come at different points. But always excited the opportunity to kind of see folks that you've had relationships with.
Well, you did a little media tour, and you were on with Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller. So you have a history with Jim, right, with the Patriots?
That's right. Yeah, 1 year, or I think it was 1 year. Yeah, he was our backup quarterback, or was in the quarterback room, the 1 year. So Jim, Chris Sims, worked in our scouting department for a year before he became a big media star. So.
Big media star. Marcotte's over there laughing at that because every time I go to Telstrator, Marcotte's listening to Chris Sims. I'm like, man, turn Chris off. So we know where you got it from. Now, Rich Eisen, every single combine, he goes and he runs a 40. And he does it for charity. It's a great event.
It's a great cause.
If you had to run a 40, what would you run right now?
Could I be a 5 flat? I think.
That's pretty good.
So, I don't know. I'm not running a 40 anymore. Peloton, VersaClimber to some other aerobic activity, but I'm not running a 40. Those days are over.
You're not the only one, my friend.
All right, a couple more for you. Lovie Smith will meet with the media Wednesday. So tell us about your relationship with Lovie so far as you guys have been working on this offseason, getting the Texans better for 2022.
Yeah, Lovie's very open-minded. He has a philosophy and a certain way that he wants to do things. He spent a lot of time on the schedule kind of planning out the spring and even kind of going into training camp. So everybody kind of has an understanding of kind of the things that we want to do. So spend a lot of time on that. And then we've spent time talking about our players, and I'll always update him on some situations, different situations. Hey, we're having a discussion with this player, just trying to prioritize the players that, we want to bring back or are trying to bring back, and just make sure we're bringing the player back because there's mutual interest. It's not, well, I want to bring the player back, and we're not sure where we are from the staff standpoint, because that's going to be counterproductive. But I would say he's very open-minded. He's definitely flexible. He's got a great way about him. So the communication has been really good to this point. So excited to be able to work with him and the staff that we have in place, and hopefully we can just make some progress and start building the team out here as we go here the next couple weeks.
Excellent. Nick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.